Sup everyone, we are back with more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It is the 2nd of November at 3:38 p.m. at Sholmes' suite. I still can't quite believe what just happened. I know, I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover. Right. That was certainly an abrupt end to the court. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret. Not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder? Bruno! Oh, Iris. You were miles away. Anyway, I've brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, I must leave. I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else. What does that mean? He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open your own, too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. That's so true. But that's what I like about Hurley, after all. I suppose that's the lot of a great detective in some ways. So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand. Oh, do you have time, Iris? Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. You know, I always hide a Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline. You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. Alright, time to have some tea while we talk. This morning's trial. So, how did it go in court this morning? Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Von Zykes definitely didn't do it. Oh, goody. Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really? And there was another development too. Kazuma. Yes, it's quite clear now. The Kazuma-sama is not himself. Yeah. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed. If he's possessed by anyone, it's probably the spirit of his dead serial killer father. I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what he's going through. Who knows if that'll happen now, soon or later, but eventually it needs to happen. The Reaper's innocence. If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Von Zykes has to be innocent, you see. What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out, just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report. That is curious. There are still unanswered questions about Lord Von Zykes, though, aren't there? Ah, do you mean... I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place? Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he? And it turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office. Oh, that sounds like it has all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot. You know, both you and Sholm seem to not be too distraught about Gregson being dead. You know, Gregson? The dude that's probably been involved in countless cases of Sholm's. I think you'd be taking this a bit more seriously, but whatever. But then why was that notice board in there covered in all those particular papers about cases with a link to the Reaper? I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this. Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late. Sounds like a good idea. Gregson's movements. I never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements. Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Red-Headed League the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley? Well, Mr. Sholmes is trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating. I do wish it had been the other way around. What are you saying? You wish Sholmes is dead instead of Gregson? I mean, I can't necessarily say I'd fully disagree, but I'd rather have neither of them dead. Anyways, it turns out the inspector who went to investigate the Red-Headed League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification. You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi. Oh my! Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris. But why would Gregson need an alibi? It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret. I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips. Perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar. I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies. At least Usato's taking this seriously. Well, anyway, if Lord Von Zykes felt the need to investigate Gregson. Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows. I like how I'm telling the characters to act serious about Gregson's death, and yet here I am making funny voices whenever I have a slip of the tongue. I mean, granted, I'm not physically in the game, so it makes sense that as a commentator I need to have a bit of comedy. But the game itself, I mean, I feel like this entire case, I mean, I guess you gotta have comedy in the... You gotta lighten up the darkest places, in a sense. But I mean, it doesn't mean you gotta do it super often in a case like this. If it's a case where you don't know the victim, I'd be like, hey, we don't know this fucker. Let's just do whatever. You know? I mean, I don't care. Odie Asman? Who's that? More like Odie Deadman. Haha.
Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband.
Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to hospital? Do you know which one?
Ah, it's St. Sinners, because that's the only hospital that exists in all of London.
I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down. Well, at least the game's self-aware.
But that's amazing, Runo. You found the lady's husband already.
Well, I suppose I have, by accident. Wait, didn't Sholm say he was gonna find her husband in a single day? If so, then is he just gonna take all the credit and say, "Oh yes, I did find your husband within a day"? Because I am just that amazing.
And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration. No!
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed. Dismissed?
Sometimes I really don't want to grow up.
But wait, there's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be a stand-in, to impersonate the inspector.
To impersonate Gregsy? But why?
I have absolutely no idea.
Ginny was right. I'm starting to think all adults are up to no good now. Including you, Runo.
I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me.
That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson, though.
The professor and the inspector. Sounds like it could make for a good TV show.
So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you?
Back to St. Sinners, then. Looks like that's what we're doing first.
Well, I think it's clear what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows. I've stolen Sholmes's catchphrase, or at least one of his many. Oh, Iris, you're even more enthusiastic than usual today. If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will soon set them straight. Also, I kind of need to get out of the house. I've been working on this manuscript for, like, days straight. So I could really stretch my I could really stand to stretch my hammies a bit. That water pistol? It's stuff full of piping hot extra special blend of mine. I thought that was supposed to fire. Oh, is that what that symbol of different colors is? Does it shoot out different stuff? Like the green stands for a type of gas, the blue is a liquid. I don't know, maybe the yellow's a solid, and then I don't know, maybe your red's like plasma or something, I don't know. Then I'm quite sure it will be very effective.
I better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go and see what we can find. Out.
Yes! Yes! Alright. Time to set sail.
Do 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 do. His hospital bed. Oh, game just told me to leave them be, but I decided no. 2nd of December, St. Sinners Hospital, Ward 3. Dun, dun. He's not here, so we will move somewhere else right now. I will figure out where I want to go right now. I guess I'll go to Fresno Street and chill over here. Oh, music faded out just to fade back in. Anything new here? People still grieving. Catches your eye as soon as you enter the room, doesn't it?
Such a bright color, it certainly makes an impression, yes.
They can't possibly commit any crimes, can they? I mean, redheads stand out like a sore thumb.
I'm afraid with our jet black Japanese hair, we stand out almost as much here in London.
I mean, I think... Is black hair uncommon in London back then? I mean, I don't know if that's like, I mean, I know that obviously black hair is common in Japan, but I don't know if it's necessarily uncommon in English-speaking countries. Then again, this game is a timepiece that takes place back in the days of ye olde London. So, I don't know.
You mustn't think of committing any crimes, Mr. Naruhodo.
I wasn't. Jeez. Never even imagined this little figurine would turn out to be a watch-winding key.
I suppose it's a policeman because the pocket watch was a gift from Scotland Yard. It seems there was much more to the Inspector Gregson than we ever realized. He was clearly a brilliant man.
It's the fish and chips that threw us off. I feel as though it ruined his image.
I really don't think we should blame one of Britain's staple cuisines.
But think about it. Imagine if it was Mr. Sholmes. How would you feel if instead of that old briar pipe that's always in his hand, Mr. Sholmes had a bag of chips?
Rather disappointed, if I'm honest.
Exactly. Oh man. You know what? Screw it. We've been just going full comedy. We've been putting the comedy into third, fourth, fifth gear. We're putting the pedal to the metal. Fuck it, I'm going all in. This revolver, just who does it belong to?
Well, we know it's of the type issued to members of the police force and judiciary.
But Gregson's own gun was found on his person.
And of course, Lord Von Zykes has admitted to losing the firearm with which he was issued.
Well, it could have not just been lost, but have been stolen. Maybe pickpocketed. You know, saying the word pickpocketed doesn't bring to mind the best solution, so I'm just gonna scrap that idea.
Such absent-mindedness. Not dissimilar to you, Miss Naruhodo.
I like the fact that she's started comparing Ryunosuke and Von Zykes. I'm starting to think the cold, hard prosecutor and I could become friends after all.
Then I wish you every success.
Listen, that sounds like a right spiffy time, becoming friends with that dude. Using a candle as a timer device. Very ingenious, I must say.
Yes, the culprit arranged it so that the firecracker would be set off at 5 o'clock and then left.
So that a loud bang was heard at precisely the moment Lord Von Zykes arrived, yes? If only I hadn't picked up that gun from the floor.
Something you probably told yourself once upon a time, I imagine.
Yes, I've learnt that lesson by bitter experience. I would have turned and run a mile for sure.
Which may not have done you any favors either.
Is this true?
Dun dun dun. Do 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 do.
There are details of cases stretching back over 10 years on this notice board. Yes, a history of Lord Von Zykes' defeats in court.
I don't think that's an appropriate description.
I mean, am I wrong, though?
Although, when you consider everything on the board, it's certainly true.
Exactly.
That all these people had a background of dubious dealings.
And in the end, of course, the board itself concealed the inspector's own death.
Oh my, it really doesn't bear thinking about.
Has anyone checked these frickin' drawers? I feel like this is an obvious thing to look in. Photograph of Miss Vigil.
Realizing the identity of this lady was a very great clue to exposing Mr. Gossip's true identity.
More like God drip. I don't know. He didn't even have good clothes. His clothes were shitty. He had no drip. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Zero.
He obviously loves his wife very dearly. Which is why he felt he couldn't tell her the truth.
The transformation was incredible, wasn't it? Just from that big twisted lip.
Yes, he went to extraordinary efforts to play the part of Hugh Boone convincingly.
Although it didn't really seem like it was much of an effort to me.
Now you say it, I have to agree.
It's almost as if that was Mr. Vigil's true character.
People really are very hard to fathom sometimes.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Alright, well, I think we've exhausted all the funnies here. Let's go talk to Von Zykes. Is he still reading that damn letter? Yeah, well, he's reading a book. Cell 1. Fitting for the #1 prosecutor. Oh, right. I forgot about that. I forgot about Iris's outfit for when she goes out of the house. Lord Von Zykes is reading, look. He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he? Is he trying to read a joke book? Because he could stand to loosen up a bit. He must have noticed that we're here, surely. Yes, I have. Now get out. Fine, I'll speak to you. What do you Nipponese want? Hey, I'm not Japanese, thank you. It's no way to greet the lawyer who's trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it? You could go back to saying my last name. Perhaps not. Hmm? I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Von Zykes speaking earnestly. Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow. This does feel very, very strange. Okay, I'm going back to my book. I must say, I was impressed. Oh, well, thank you. Not by you, by your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend. Oh, I see. Yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? I don't know what that word means. I'll have to look it up later. For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nipponese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years. Played the part? Sad music. The Reaper's identity. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London. If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything? But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day. And that was the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your silence about all this. Someone is using you. That seems to be the case. Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization. Ah, it's a whole organization? I mean, that would... Isn't it supposed to be spelled organization with a Z, not an S? Or is that just like a... or is that like another timey thing, or like a dialect? It's inconceivable that all those accidents were orchestrated by one man. Yeah, I was about to say. That seems very unlikely. No, the Reaper always appears to have very... I muted my mic that time to at least spare you the Chewbacca noise. Very accurate information about the accused in each case. Which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved. Someone at... You can't mean... It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson. Really? No! No! Gregson the Reaper? No fucking way. Really? So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper? As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization.
I don't believe it.
Well, let's hope we don't expose that in court, because that's just going to give another reason for you to have a motive.
Are you saying that Gregsy, that he was behind all those awful criminals meeting there? Meeting there.
Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself.
Oh.
He was the tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needed a firm alibi.
Which is where Mr. Vigil comes in, posing as the inspector.
Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper, but the room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings.
So we don't actually know who carried out the killing, son.
Actually, I do have a name.
Oh, shit? What? Well, if you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already, then.
Or, if I can name the woman.
Oh.
She's a young woman by the name of Asashin.
It's the fourth name. Or wait, is it? Wait, no. It's not. That was... Wait, it is! Because it was A. A was a freaking... What do you call it? Shit. Whatever you call it. It was her initial. It was the initial of her first name. A. Shin. Last name was Shin. First name A. But that was... Wasn't that supposed to be Giselle Brett? Am I misremembering? I thought Giselle Brett was Asian. Or Asashin. Oh my god. Yo. Okay. Okay. So, okay, think, Toby, think. There was... Okay, Kazuma, Gregson, Asashin, and, John H. Wilson. Those were the four names on that Japanese Morse code we got at the end of the first game. We still don't know how that ties in. But things are becoming clearer and clearer. The water is becoming less murky and you can see farther into the depths. Soon the bottom will be visible. Wait, what? Shin? It was her. Miss Asashin. The true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well. She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Then, just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction, the mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. Are you telling me that wasn't actually her that died? I mean, because we never got to see the corpse. We saw pictures of the corpse, but did she herself not actually die? I mean, oh wait, actually no. Oh, sorry. Okay, think. There was no, she would have been... Wait. No, she wasn't dead then. Back in the first game, okay? Frickin' good old Magnus McGilded died, right? And back then, Asashin was arrested in the first game, in the first case. She was arrested, and she was apparently originally going to get shipped out somewhere, but then they said nah, and then kept her in Japan. But then she ended up she stayed in Japan, and then at the start of this game, she ended up becoming a murder victim. So
maybe, well, I guess they didn't necessarily need her in order to carry out Magnus McGilded's assassination. But ever since the start of the first game, we've heard about the Reaper of the Bailey, and we saw Magnus McGilded get burned alive, basically. But beyond him, we haven't seen anyone get killed by the Reaper's curse. So, if Giselle Brett was actually Assassin, the person committing the murders of all the people that the Reaper has cursed, then would that mean that the Reaper's curse is no more because she died at the start of this game? And maybe that's why the likes of Soseki, Gina, and Albert are all alive? That could be it. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey? That seems likely, now I think about it. Mr. Naruhodo, this perhaps isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. Can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Oh, fuck, right. Iris is right here. Excuse my language. I don't know if I should excuse my language, because it's just... it's not like I stifle my curses. Who knows, maybe one day if I get picked up by a company, I might have to dial it back, but I don't care right at the moment. Because Iris doesn't know, and it's very likely that the man was her father. Question mark? Assassin, I should let father know at once. Yes, I agree. So I guess we're gonna have to go see Professor Mikotoba. Let's talk about Asogi now. Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Asogi. You say he's a friend of yours. My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him. Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father. Genshin Asogi, the professor. Genshin Impact. It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, in war. In many ways, Asogi was carving out a kanka from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves. Ah, I see. But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint von Zykes was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did that damn Nipponese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine. What? He saved your life? How did that happen? Saving your life. It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night, when what was to be the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital. So Clint von Zykes had already been killed at this point then. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden... What happened?
Don't make a peep, you're coming with us.
Oh shit. Yo, he actually looks kind of badass, not gonna lie. We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I'd been targeted several times before already.
Yeah, it's Von Zykes, alright.
Oh shit, I forgot it's Von Zeeks, isn't it? God, we heard that at the end of... But I've been doing this for like a game and a half. Should I really change it now? Maybe it isn't too late. I'll try to change it.
It's Von Zeke's, all right. We've got him.
I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me. Just when I thought my time had come. And so have I. You've come last because you came to die. Oh man, I have to come up with a voice for Genshin now. If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me. It was Asogi's voice, just a whisper in my ear. Oh shit, did he take a bullet? After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. Two days later, they arrested him, on suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor.
We still don't know why they thought that Genshin was the Professor, though. Maybe, who? Wait a second. Wasn't Gregson the one that caught Asogi? Because if that's so, maybe Gregson was a bad guy and Genshin Asogi was actually a nice guy. Maybe it was just a cover-up or something and the real murderer was someone else. I don't know, I'm making just conspiracy theories. I don't really have any evidence to back it up. It just seems potential, like it could have been the case. How awful for you.
All at once, I lost the brother I revered, and the foreign friend I held in such high regard. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zeeks. That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone. Well, thank you for confiding in me.
The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are.
Man, we still haven't seen Iris. The frickin' bandage of Iris learning about her father's gonna happen eventually. It's either gonna happen this case or next case. There's a lot of stuff that's either gonna happen this case or next case. It worries me. I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper. Giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett.
Mr. Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information. Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie. Hooray!
I'm not gonna lie, I almost pronounced Susie as Sussy, and I hate myself. Yes, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel then. AirPod shot of you, looking real sussy. Alright. Well, I can frickin' just move it while in that. That's kind of wacky. Alright. Right to here.
I thought it yesterday, and I think it again today. This place is so princely.
It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you'll think the same thing tomorrow, too. Give me 1 second. Checking something.
My tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though. Wouldn't you say?
Ah, look who we have here. This is an unexpected pleasure. I had a feeling it was you. It was either you or Seishiro.
Ah, Father, Oto-san. Oh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely.
What a charming young lady. And you are? We got introductions out of the way. Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, are you? Mikatoba, please do not blow this. This dude knows Wilson, I fear.
That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir.
Oh god, oh god.
Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know.
Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work. I read your work regularly and with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, Father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explaining that bright look in your eyes.
Hehe.
You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is, believe me. Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee at the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance. Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted by Kazuma on the end there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. Really? And this entire family line can just read my mind. You didn't miss a step against Asogi, and we all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. It's very kind of you to say so. And really nice to hear. What I saw in court today confirmed what I'd been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you?
But first, we have something to report, Father.
Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further? I wonder where Judge Jigoku has got to. Alright. About you know what, let's just talk about that first. I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while, have you? Guilty! Ha 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 ha! But that guilty is still ringing in my ears. No, now you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose since the symposium's opening was postponed, he'll have gone to explore at the Great Exhibition.
That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the dock himself.
Ah yes, it was all tied up with that accursed trial. The closed trial of Kazuma's father. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand.
Oh my!
With his gavel? He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Oh dear. Although it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that. Well, it was all right in the end. He was acquitted and we returned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Ah yes, talking of Seishiro. I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday. Please. As evidence?
Oh, what a lovely picture.
Certainly seems to shout we've arrived in Britain. Interesting. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we?
No, that's true.
Let's talk about... You know what? I'm going in a weird order today. Let's talk about the favor. So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me. Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting. One way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. You want me to do...
What? Father, what's the meaning of this?
Man, first you did it to Susato, and now you're doing it to me? Now, Susato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
Oh, you mean...
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact. But I've not even been in London a year yet. I've read all of Susato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs. Would you mind taking Kazuma instead so I can stay here and have another case, please?
So, you'd be leaving then, Runo? But then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
You came here to serve as Isogi's judicial assistant. Oh, yes, she's supposed to be Kazuma's assistant. Our government is still in the process of deciding how best to deal with his situation, though. Take him, leave Susato and me here. You've always chosen your own path, Susato. And I trust your judgment. In this matter also.
Father!
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest. But I won't force you. Really? All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes. Huh. Yes, alright. Well, I'm glad that we're not being forced.
You won't leave, will you, Runo?
Thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Kazuma's will. But turns out that he's still alive, so... What does that leave me? Damn. Let's talk about the Reaper first. Or last.
Father, do you know about this so-called Reaper of the Bailey?
I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zieks, who was in the dock today. That was Beric, the younger brother of Clint Van Zieks, I believe.
That's right, and he's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard, but the truth is, it wasn't him behind all of those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else.
I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here. Exactly. Someone by the name of Asashin, in fact. I beg your pardon? Did you say Asashin? You mean that Giselle Brett woman who is responsible for killing my great friend? Man, am I glad you didn't say his name by name.
Oh no, a friend of yours was killed.
Please don't say his name. Please don't say his name. Professor Mikitoba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. Because the friend of the professor is talking about is Dr. John H. Wilson. That's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway. Oh my god, I am glad that that Mikotoba stopped himself. That would have been a terrible way to find out.
Ah, I've just remembered some...
Oh, good. I think I know what Susato's doing. She's gonna try to get Iris to go with her, and so the two of us can talk in private.
Biscuits. This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits.
That was rather out of the blue. She's doing this deliberately.
I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris? Oh yes. You just try to leave me behind.
Good. We don't got long. So that young girl is called Iris Wilson, is she? Yes, that's right. And she's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great Detective Sholmes. But the name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see. Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial Yume University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by Jezeel Brett. Why? Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father. Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner. Really? So, it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think? Well, John and Wilson are both common names after all. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure. That's what we thought, yes.
We're back with cinnamon biscuits.
Oh, ooh, they smell delicious, Iris.
I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here, don't you, Susie? Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris.
Alright. Well, if you'll excuse me now. I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about Asashin.
Of course, Father. Thank you.
I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Wilson.
Oh, good, and please do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
That actually might be a good idea. Maybe Mikotoba will see some evidence that the two Wilsons are one and the same. I would be delighted. The best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you? Yes, I will. Going back home. And that's the end of that.
You know, Kazuma-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all this.
Yes, no doubt.
Asashin. Of course, it's so obvious.
Oh god, that's short. I thought it was Iris because she was the only one not on screen. How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Mr. Sholmes?
Harley, where have you been?
Why, I joined you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question. Also, do you like my impression of you, Iris? I've been working on it.
I didn't notice you at all.
No matter, no matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, yes? I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you mean? Tell me, to whom can I entrust the task? Quickly now, who?
Well... My father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself.
I see. Well, he looked reliable enough for a bearded fellow.
I don't think what father sports could be considered a beard, Mr. Sholmes.
There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this is sent.
I will, but what is it?
No questions at this time, if you please, Mrs. Soto. All we can do is pray that for once, my deduction is awry. What does that mean? That sounds ominous as shit. Doesn't that imply that your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which isn't exactly, now then! You may be surprised to learn that I am a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. So that's what joining us for team meant. I leave the sending of this in your hands then, my dear fellows. And off he goes. Oh, wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes.
He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite a pace.
And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too. Brother.
I must catch up with Father at the telegraph office at once. And I'll run and call us a cab straight away.
And there was me thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Well, nothing else for us to do here. So next time on Greatest Attorney Chronicles, I think the only place that we really need to head is... I mean, we could visit Mr. Vigil's hospital bed. Or we could go to the Lord Chief Justice's office. We'll choose between those two places next time. Adios, ciao, and bye-bye. Signing off until next time. Ja, matane.